Hey, what's going on, summoners? Welcome back to another ProGuides video. Today, we're gonna be diving into the second part of our one tip to counter every champion series. You all seem to have enjoyed the last video and even left some amazing tips yourself. Well, since this is part 2, you already know the drill, so let's dive right into the video and get things started. Akshan snuck his way past our first video, but not to worry, we're here to make sure he's included. Aksha can't swing if you're on top of him, which is a huge part of both his damage and his mobility. Make sure if you fight him that you stand as close as possible so he can't get away. Speaking of missing champions, Aurelion Sol also avoided our last list. That being said, A Sol's biggest strength is his wave clear and roam potential setup wards, so you can spot him and warn your allies. Lilia's biggest asset is her ult. Be sure to take cleanse or grab a QSS if you're playing a hyper carry that is vulnerable to CC. Be sure to bring cleanse to deal with Lissandra. Even if she can still ult herself, it'll make you less vulnerable to ganks. Lucian is all about dealing large amounts of burst. If you can survive it initially, you'll usually win the fight. Take exhaust to make sure he doesn't delete you in one rotation. Lulu's shield doesn't have a scaling cooldown, which means she heavily relies on cooldown reduction. This means that early game, be sure to trade while it's still down. Lux heavily relies on her full combo to truly one-shot someone. Something as simple as Merc-Tres can give you enough tenacity to walk out of her Q and dodge her laser. Malphite's entire kit is his ult. Either play to dodge it or make sure that he needs to choose between solo ulting you or ulting your team. Early game, it can be really useful to tank Malzahar's visions. It'll force him to run out of mana, especially when he's spamming other abilities. Just make sure to keep your health up. Maokai's laning phase is pretty powerful thanks to his saplings. Be sure to avoid bushes so you don't take unnecessary damage. A lot of Yis use their W as a basic attack reset. Be sure to use that timer to kill him. It's an extremely long cooldown and his W would otherwise heal him plus give him damage reduction. Miss Fortune thrives at being a lane bully from a distance, but is actually really weak if you get close to her. Bait out her E and poke her to put her W passive on cooldown so that your jungler can gank her. When facing Mordekaiser, be sure to pick up a QSS to deal with him as an AD champion or otherwise build a Zhonya's to stall the fight. Morgana loves to use her W to poke. Try standing in your wave to force her to push into you, then collapse on her with your jungler. Nami is extremely squishy, so if she throws out her bubble, that's your chance to engage on her. Nasus is all about scaling because of his Q. That being said, be sure to trade with him after he uses Q. You'll want to constantly bully and try to kill him early so he doesn't scale up for free. Nautilus's hook cooldown is extremely long early game if it doesn't connect with a wall. Use this to your advantage by auto-spacing him for free. There's no risk of him hooking you if it's down. Nico is an incredibly unique champion that can be a bit difficult to flat out counter. That being said, her biggest strength is her ultimate in teamfights. Be sure to save your Zhonya's or mobility options to dodge both the root and high burst. Nidalee isn't that great of a champion later on in the game. Be sure to set a vision when you're looking to siege so you and your allies don't get poked out for free by her spears. When it comes to fighting Nocturne, he usually needs to get a kill for his ult to be worth. Be sure to stay near your allies and have a way to stall until they can get to you. Things like Zhonya's or Gale Force are really good at outrunning and outlasting his fear. Nunu's entire champion is designed around ganks and objective control early on. The best way to deal with him is to set up vision in the middle of river and in his jungle. This will stop him from getting a massive snowball rolling into your lane. Olaf's mini rework introduced a lot of new fighting mechanics that now let him be a monster in skirmishes and team fights. And while his ult can technically be unlimited, it does require him to fight. Try to disengage and wait out his ult for a better chance. Early on, Orianna's ball movement is on a high cooldown. When she looks to use it on minions, use that as your opportunity to take a trade and slowly whittle her down. Eventually, you'll be able to kill her. Ironically, the best counter to Ornn is to just work on getting your mid or jungle ahead. Ornn does great without gold, so camping him is really hard. Instead, push your wave and look to get vision in the enemy jungle or gank mid. Pantheon really needs to roam early to get his team ahead since he falls off fairly hard. Be sure to set a vision in river and keep waves shoved so that Pantheon doesn't roam for free. Poppy's early laning is really weak, but she makes up for it thanks to her passive shield. Be sure to trade while it's down so you can slowly build up your lead. We all know that Pyke's ult is the most vital part of his kit. That's why it's important to stop its reset at all costs. Be sure to use things like heal or Zhonya's as he ults to catch him off guard. Qiyana is all about killing her laner and roaming. If she can't win her lane, she's likely to perma-gank bot lane. Be sure to set a vision or safely shove the wave to prevent her from getting a free roam timer. Quinn heavily relies on basic attacks to win her lane. Grabbing something as simple as Warden's Mail early on can give you the advantage you need to stabilize the lane. Rakan's W is extremely vulnerable to displacement and CC. Something as simple as a Thresh Flay can cancel it altogether. Be sure to keep your eye out for when he's looking to engage and knock him out of his W animation. Rammus does extremely well versus AD targets thanks to his W and because of his high armor. Things like Black Cleaver and Lord Dominic's Regard don't work that well on him. Instead, don't attack him during his W and just wait it out. Rek'Sai is all about her early ganks, specifically her 3 camp into top or bot gank. Don't fall prey to this, as she usually does 3 camps and then tunnels behind you. Rel is extremely vulnerable if she misses her W, especially early on. Be sure to dodge it, then kill her. Renata's W is an extremely long cooldown. If she casts it too early, be sure to punish it by going for a fight after it wears off. Don't be afraid to kill the person she marked. Killing them twice can mean the difference between winning and losing a fight. Renekton not only heavily relies on his rage for trades, but he also does extremely well in minion waves. Avoid fighting in waves as it'll not only heal him more with his Q, but it will give him an easy double dash. Avoid fighting around bushes. It'll give Rengar a free ferocity stack and long range attack. Early on, Riven's abilities have an extremely high cooldown. Use it to your advantage to take heavy trades with her if she decides to shove the wave with it. Rumble's Overheat seems like a good trade window since he can't cast abilities, however it'll cause his basic attacks to do significantly more damage, so keep your distance. Ryze is amazing at getting wave prio and taking short trades. Be sure that if you're gonna fight him, you completely commit to it or else he'll combo you for all your health. Mira needs her ult to get anything done. An easy solution to countering her is to pick hard CC and wait to use it once her ult starts. You can also opt to use exhaust instead. Try to pop Sejuani's passive before a massive fight. It'll decrease her armor so that you can kill her easier. Don't take trades with Senna early on unless you can kill her. All you're doing is giving her gold, souls, and the health advantage. Seraphine is extremely vulnerable once you get on top of her. If you see her cast an empowered ability, then be sure to engage on her. Most of Set's damage comes from his W, which makes dealing burst damage really dangerous. Take fights versus him slow, so that he doesn't one-tap you with his true damage. Shaco's invisibility allows him to sneak near carries or make a quick getaway. Grab a sweeper so you can catch him in the act. Shen will often ult to save his laners no matter what state his wave is in. Be sure to force his ult before major objectives if possible, especially if he doesn't have TP. Shyvana heavily relies on her ult for most of her damage and teamfight potential. Try to burn it out before a fight. If Singed is giving you a hard time, be sure to grab a Force of Nature to significantly reduce his damage. Sion does a lot of damage after death. Be sure that if you take a fight with him, you can get away from his zombie after. Sivir's Spell Shield has an extremely long cooldown. Be sure to bait it out, then have your jungler or anyone else engage on her. Skarner's Spires give him a ton of movement speed for his ganks. Be sure to capture them and pay attention to when he takes them so you can keep tracking him. Sona is an extremely weak laner. Take advantage of how squishy she is and her lack of mobility. While Soraka may seem super squishy, she's deceptively tanky thanks to her Q and ult. Regardless, be sure to grab anti-heal and focus her in fights. Oh yeah, and avoid getting hit by her Q, it'll give her a free heal for her and her ally. Swain's rework has completely transformed him into a drain tank, however, his ult doesn't last as long once you wait it out. If Swain ults, try to disengage and wait for it to turn off, then re-engage. Pick up anti-heal early on and it'll hurt Silas a ton as his best tool is his W. Once Syndra uses her E, she's extremely susceptible to being engaged on due to its long cooldown. Bait it out and then take the fight. Tahm Kench has a ton of health and passive healing, so be sure to grab Grievous and build items like Bork, LDR, Demonic, Liandry's, etc. You get the point. With her rework, Taliyah is back to perma roaming. Be sure to set up vision and try to keep the wave pushed so that she doesn't harass your allies. Talon can only hop the same wall after 2 minutes early on. Try to pay attention to what walls he's hopped so you know what angles he can gank you from. Thanks to his passive, Taric can constantly heal and provide crowd control for his allies. If you don't outrange him, it's best to avoid a boxing match with him. Teemo's shrooms offer some of the best objective control in the game. Be sure to grab sweepers and pink wards so you can regain control. Nearly all of Thresh's abilities have a long cooldown. Be sure to play around them, especially his lantern. It can easily give you a free kill. All of Tristana's damage early on is in her E. Be sure to bring exhaust and keep your distance from her. Trundle heals an absurd amount thanks to his abilities and the fact that he often goes Sunderer. Be sure to pick up anti-heal so he doesn't catch you off guard. With how much he relies on attack speed and flat damage, Tryndamere is extremely susceptible to things like the Cold Steel passive. Be sure to grab Steel Caps and either a Randuin's or Frozen Heart against him. TF is all about wave clear and roaming. It's important to know that his rank 1 ult is a 3-minute long cooldown. Keep track of it. Twitch has a fairly weak early game, but what makes him strong is his ability to sneak up on squishy targets. Make sure to buy plenty of pink wards and expose him before he can get the jump on you and your team. Udyr is all about his movement speed. Be sure to save some CC for him and you can easily kite him thanks to his simple dashless kit. Early on, Urgot's knee cannons have long cooldowns. Since you'll be using them for farming, be sure to play around it for better trades and a stronger early game. Varus' ultimate can be devastating thanks to his blight stacks. Be sure to take cleanse versus him so he doesn't one-shot you in fights thanks to its root. Vayne's early game is very weak, but she's still a fairly strong duelist. The best way to punish her is to force her to lose CS. Her wave clear is awful, which means you can often take free resets or rotate for plays faster than she ever can. Being one of the best scaling champs in the game also means you're one of the most vulnerable, so don't be afraid to take trades and fights with Veigar. Letting him scale is asking for disaster. Due to his low mobility, Vel'Koz is extremely easy to kill. Play around his E and engage on him when he misses it. Vex heavily relies on her fear to take favorable trades and avoid ganks. Be sure to bait it out. Vi's role in fights is often to isolate a target and one-shot them. Grab items like Gargoyle, Zhonya's, Guardian Angel, Banshees, Edge of Night, etc. to prolong your life so that your allies can kill Vi and fight a 4v5. Viego needs his resets to be powerful. Buy items to stall so that you and your team can focus him when he goes in for the kill. Victor's laser is his strongest tool. Be sure to play around its cooldown early on to take favorable trades. Vladimir will always look to trade with his second Q. Don't fight him until its empowered effect wears off. Voli's Q cooldown resets if he's crowd controlled, but if it runs out, it's on a long cooldown, so be sure to kite him during this time since he won't be able to catch you. Warwick thrives on chasing low health targets. If you're extremely low and can get dove, just recall. Wukong's clone can't move even if it can mimic attacks, so it's best to wait to find the real one before using summoner spells like Ignite or Exhaust. Xayah's ult is one of the best abilities in the game, but it has a long cooldown. If she uses it for damage or to save herself, keep that in mind for the next fight. Xerath's range is his best friend, but it also makes him weak to engage. Be sure that if Xerath wastes his stun, that you can go after him. One of the best frontline abilities in the game is Sin's ultimate. Be sure not to use key abilities if you can't damage him during the 4-second duration. Yasuo desperately needs minions to kite around enemies and stack his Q. Avoid fighting him near waves to keep the advantage. While Yone's E can cover massive distances, it doesn't block CC, so be sure to crowd control him when he engages you so you and your allies can kill him before he escapes. The Maiden of the Mist does most of Yorick's damage. Be sure to focus it during the fights. A lot of things deny Yumi from being able to reattach. Be sure to punish her by crowd controlling her for overstepping. Zack's E serves as a powerful engage tool, but it's fairly easy to interrupt. Set a vision and watch for his engage so you can cancel it with something like Vex Fear, Veigar Cage, Trundle Pillar, Thresh Flay, etc. Living Shadow has a long cooldown early on, so be sure to take advantage of that if Zed uses it to trade. Each bullet from Zeri's Q counts as its own instance of damage. This means things like Leona W, Amumu W, Frozen Heart, Tabbies all work extremely well at significantly reducing her damage. Without his satchel charge, Ziggs has no real way of keeping enemies away from him. If he uses it for wave clear, be sure to punish it. Don't let Zillion's ult fool you. Kill whoever he ults unless you can truly afford to wait it out. More often than not, it's worth killing the enemy twice. You can always see what summoner spell Zoe currently has. Play around that and remember that it gives her a lot of movement speed. Zyra's plants deal quite a bit of damage. Be sure to step on any seeds you find to avoid getting poked out. And that is it for today's video. Thank you all for watching. We hope you all enjoyed it. If you have a cool tip to share with everyone, leave it in the comments section down below. Maybe it's exactly what someone else was looking for. As always, good luck on the Rift, and may the LP gods smile down upon you.